We're doing a food cooking demonstration today. My name is Jamie Newman. I am the Student Activities Coordinator here at FranU, and we are promoting our campus food pantry, which is located in Student Affairs. Our food pantry hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. All right, we're going to be making my famous taco soup. We're getting into our fall months, and it's a really good, comforting meal. I used to make this when I was in college for all of my friends to come study, and I bring it to my fall family get-togethers. All right, I've already taken the liberty of browning my ground meat. You can hear it sizzling now. All right, I'm going to add in some onions that I have already pre-cut. Let's get this trash out of the way. I've already pre-cut my onions. I like to do mine a little on the thick side, but you can dice them as fine as you'd like. All right, I did today's recipe is pretty simple. These are all items that you can get in our food pantry. So I've got some canned beans, corn, Rotel tomatoes, a dry fajita seasoning mix. I say it's taco soup. I do not like to use the taco seasoning. I have found that the fajita seasoning has a better flavor to it. But you can adjust that as needed. All right. So while that's browning, we're going to open some cans. I have whole sweet corn. You can also use cream corn, which that's my personal preference. But since we pulled these items out of the food pantry, we have the whole corn. Actually, I lied. It's cream corn. Perfect. All right, to get a really good hearty soup, I like to do up to 3 beans. So usually a pinto bean, a kidney bean, and a black bean. You can do more than that if you'd like. You can also not add the ground meat if you're a vegetarian and you want that as an option. You can use ground turkey, and you can also use ground chicken or shredded chicken if you want to have that as an option. This looks great, guys. Wow, that looks beautiful. All right, so when my onions are almost finished browning, I like to go ahead and add in that fajita or that taco seasoning mix that you're using. Again, it's totally your preference. I just dump it in and let it get good and coated all over the ground meat. And then I also like to add a little bit of water in. So on the back of the instructions, it always tells you when you're making the fajitas to add, it's usually like 3/4 a cup of water. A trick I use is to just fill the pouch up. So I've got some water I've pre-measured, and then I'm just going to fill up the pouch, dump that in. That's going to give us a nice little base. All right. Stir that up, coat, let it come back to a boil. I'm going to do the same thing with the ranch, but I'm not going to add any extra water here. I made this recipe without the ranch, and you can do it that way also. I don't always have the ranch salad dressing, dry seasoning on hand. I have not used the ranch liquid dressing. I'm not sure that the flavors would blend, but you want to make it. Obviously, you can put your own little spin and little touch on it. Okay, so that looks great. I've got that cooking down. Perfect. You can see lots of seasonings there. Okay, so now I'm going to start with my Rotel tomatoes and get that in there. Let's see. And I'm actually going to drain these tomatoes. If you do not like the spice, you can do a milder Rotel tomato, or you can just do diced tomatoes. I like a little bit of spice in my soup, so that's why I go with the Rotel brand. And of course, that's what we had in our food pantry. All right, now that I've drained that, I've dumped that in there. We're gonna stir that all in, get it all good and going. Fabulous, that looks great. All right, next I'm gonna put in my cream corn. Cream corn, you can do that whole kernel corn as well. And of course, if you don't like any of these ingredients, feel free to omit them. Getting a little messy. All right, now this is where some of you've had taco soup that's more like a chili. And so if you want it a little bit thicker, you're just not gonna add as much broth a little bit later when we get to the broth. And so of course, if you want it to be more of a chili, you know, then you can limit some of these ingredients. All right, now my beans, I don't drain my beans. You can. What I have found is that adding them in there with the liquid, it's just gonna give you a little bit more of a broth, and it's a thicker broth because the juice in there is a little bit thicker. Usually when I'm purchasing these, I like to purchase a low sodium. So we like to watch that salt intake so that it is also a healthier meal. Perfect. This is looking so good. All right, down to my black beans. So yeah, I've perfected this recipe. I think it's perfection. Over the years, I have made it with bell pepper. I don't do that anymore. I feel like it's not needed. Sometimes I will add some garlic in there if you want some garlic. And I like to keep a jar of the minced garlic in my refrigerator just because that's easy. I don't have to like actually press the garlic. Don't have to cut it up. And it'll last me a long time. So when you're talking about saving money or you're on a budget, you can just buy one big jar of that and it's usually good for a year or so. All right. This is a very good soup base. Right here is where I would say if you do not want it any soupier than this, to not add any vegetable beef broth or beef broth or for broth with it. So I'm gonna add that as well. All right, and I use the beef broth just because that helps bring the flavors together. If you were cooking this with chicken, you might want to use a chicken broth, or if you want a lighter color broth, if you're a vegetarian, go ahead and use that vegetable broth. Okay. So I didn't measure how much beef broth I'm pouring in, but this was 1 can. Usually I add a cup to 2 cups. It depends on how big my pot is, how many beans I've added, because on this 3rd can of beans I just added, it kind of raised that level, and this pot is already almost full. And so you don't want it to boil over. If you're making a double batch, you might want to add extra broth. So right now we're just going to let this come back to a boil. And then if you want to add any cilantro, this is where I would add it. For today's demonstration, I'm not adding cilantro because I know some people do not like the taste of it. I love it. And so this is where I would be spending my time chopping my cilantro and adding that in there, because with the fajita seasonings and the beans and the rotel and the corn and all that goodness, it's really just going to blend together great. The cilantro is going to be great. You can also have some on the side as a garnish. Awesome, this is looking great, guys. Just so you're aware, you can do some different garnishes with your taco soup. So I've got some sour cream here. That's always good to add. Got a bag of chips, and again, this was straight from our food pantry, as well as some cheese. Now, it's not already shredded, but we do have this in there. You just grate it, you can slice it, put that on there. Of course, you can purchase cheese separately, the sour cream, and then that cilantro. So if you want to add that extra, that's where I would go ahead and do that as well. All right, and this soup, it's about ready. This is fabulous. Lots of beans in there, some meat. With that creamed corn, it really kind of, it's not big chunks of the corn, so people that do not like corn, because of the texture, it's broken up. That onion is cooked down nicely, and I think this is ready to serve. So thanks for joining us today. I hope this demonstration was helpful for you if you're not skilled in the kitchen. I hope it was also helpful for you to see the type of meals that you can make from items found in our food pantry on campus. And again, we would love for you to come by Student Affairs, check out our pantry. Those hours again are Monday through Friday from 8:30 till 4:30. So, all right, thank you.